Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis Daihishi, and today's pick is Palestine by Joe Sacco, originally released in two parts. The first volume was published in 1993 and the second in 1995. This combined volume was initially published in 1996 by Fantagraphics. Content notes for disabling violence, hospitals, guns, death, occupation, war, displacement, smoking, and torture. Overall, I would also add that this book depicts a lot of anti-Zionism, which is not the same as anti-Semitism. Obviously, if you aren't down for anti-colonialism, don't read this book and move along, as this channel is not for you either. This is my third read by Joe Sacco, the first of which was actually Footnotes in Gaza, another great deep dive on a very specific part of Gazan history. Obviously, check it out for Sacco's bio and to learn more. I'm trying to focus a lot of time and energy right now on reading books by Palestinians and or about Palestine. Insert graphic here of all the books currently on that TBR. Let me know if you are aware of any more I should add. I'll keep a updated pinned comment with links to all my reviews. Apparently some of the chapters in Sacco's other book, Journalism, also cover issues related to Palestine, so I'm hoping to get to that sooner rather than later as well. The final creator-related point before we move on, Palestine is apparently one of the first books on Sacco's bibliography, so the way he portrays himself also felt a bit more young, frivolous at times, slightly more petty at others. I always appreciate people being honest and upfront about where they are coming from, and being self-deprecating can have its plus sides, but Sacco's women problems were honestly a bit distracting at the start. But live and learn. Keywords included lines, family, land, fear, children, and propaganda. Flipping over to the summary, we have, quote, Joe Sacco's breakthrough novel of graphic journalism, based on several months of research and an extended visit to the West Bank and Gaza Strip in the early 1990s, where he conducted over 100 interviews with Palestinians and Jews. Palestine was the first major comic work of political and historical nonfiction by Sacco, whose name has since become synonymous with this graphic form of new journalism. Like Safe Area Gorazde, Palestine has been favorably compared to Art Spiegelman's Pulitzer Prize-winning Mouse for its ability to brilliantly navigate such socially and politically sensitive subject matter within the confines of the comic book medium. End quote. This combined edition also included an introduction by Edward Said that was pretty interesting. There was also a short foreword by Sacco added in July of 2001. There's also blurbs by Christopher Hitchens and the Los Angeles Times. Looking first at the art, while Sacco is working with fairly basic tools, his page layouts and faces in particular are extremely expressive. A chapter or two felt a little text heavy, but in general the text is broken up in dynamic ways that makes it pretty easy to just keep moving right along. It's still a very dense read though. As a bit of a type nerd, I appreciated how integrated most of the chapter titles were with the dynamics of the scene. Writing wise, I see why this book is generally at the top of must-reads on Palestine, maddeningly timeless and thorough. You'll get a taste for most of the kinds of violent injustice that were being used in Gaza and the West Bank at the time, and largely in the words of the people living it. As I already mentioned, I do appreciate that we do see the perspective of the author clearly outlined, and he is very much a character in the story. There is no such thing as a neutral or unbiased observer, and I'm suspicious if it feels like someone is trying to serve me a history from a so-called neutral perspective. Looking at the intersectionality of it all, as we always do, race and class felt like the most explored in this book on what Nelson Mandela called an apartheid state, where the government is attempting to disempower people through the removal of their land, culture, lives, and any other resources they may have. Gender was pretty binary, but I appreciated that we heard the voices of both men and women. Sacco also talked to both children and elders. Disability felt both there, but also not exactly highlighted or explored. I think I was reading into it a bit because of my own understanding of violent occupation as not only a program of death and incarceration, but also a massively disabling reality. Beyond the ties of family, which suggests some sort of sexuality, I don't recall it being commented on at all. Wrapping things up, a read for just about every adult who is not already intimately familiar with the history of Palestine, although certainly don't let it be your only avenue of education. 5 stars if there was any doubt. Bye y'all, keep reading, and stand with striking workers. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.